And now we will get into the week 2 college football recap. I know the graphic today is very basic because that's all I had time to throw together for work. I kind of am going to try this because we're doing a different way of doing recaps. I have the 4 games that I want to talk about here, and I have my preview games coming up too. So, the game we are going to start with first from week 2 is almost arguably one of the, it's not the funniest one, because nothing will beat Florida South Florida, which we will talk about here in a couple minutes. I think it's funny just because I do not like Dabo Swinney and Clemson. And that is Clemson beating Troy 27-16. A couple notes from this game, because this game was not readily available on TV here in Michigan, so I had to watch a lot of highlights. Troy was up 16-0 at one point, 16-3 at half, before giving up 27 unanswered. Cade Klubnik, who was a Heisman favorite at the beginning of the season, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 42.8. Clemson was 5 for 12 on third down, 316 total yards, 301, which is only 15 more than Troy's 301. Rushing on 31 attempts, they ran for 120 yards, so averaging just under 4 yards a carry, and did turn the ball over twice, and they got outpossessed here as well. Really, the only thing that probably saved Clemson is Goose Crowder. Yes, that is Troy's quarterback's name. Goose Crowder throwing 3 interceptions. This Clemson team is busted, especially on offense. They are not good. Troy also had 10 penalties for 97 yards, by the way. We will throw that out there to Clemson's 3 for 30. But this Clemson team, led by Dabo Swinney, coached by Dabo Swinney, led by Cade Klubnik at quarterback, is just so underwhelming. And they have, that's not the, and we'll press that button as well. We may as well get both of them. They're just not good. They are just not good. And we'll talk about them more here in a little bit with the preview, because I do have their game for notes in my preview. I believe I do. This is a Clemson team, looking at their schedule, that on paper, outside of Florida State, if Florida State's as good as people think they are, and then South Carolina to end the season, they really shouldn't lose a lot of games, but they could be a 4-loss team. I could see them losing to Georgia Tech. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I could see them losing to Boston, or to Florida State and South Carolina. And, I mean, they don't play Miami this year. Who else in here? I mean, really? So they could easily have 3. Well, they already have the one loss to LSU. So I could see them losing at least 3 more games and just not being a competitive team. They're just not. Things are not clicking right there for Clemson, and they just look ugly. Our next game of note, just to keep this rolling, because I don't want these to take too long. Where? Here it is. Another weird one. This one ended up being an upset. The Mississippi State Bulldogs won 24-20 over the number 12 Arizona State Sun Devils. Arizona State last year won the Big 12. They were the Big 12 representative in the college football playoff. Sam Leavitt, who was really good last year, 10 for 22, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 82 passing yards. Mississippi State jumped out quick to a 17-0 lead, and then also scored the game-winning touchdown with 30 seconds to go on a 58-yard touchdown pass. Steelers, we'll talk about that tomorrow. That game was good, though. Some other things worth noting. Arizona State, 3 for 14 on third down. They had the 2 turnovers. Both were Sam Leavitt interceptions. 49 penalty yards, 8 penalties. And, like, they just... Scatterboo was this team's soul. And they have no soul. They really have no soul now. Their leading rusher ran for Raleek Brown ran for 100 and I believe 110. 110, but I mean, Mississippi State had 66 rushing yards and just controlled, really. Most of this game, Arizona State kind of were able to figure things out, and then just, yeah. Trying to think, what was the other touchdown? Field goal, rushing touchdown, Sam Leavitt touchdown. Yeah, like this Arizona State team's another one that they were a Boise State last year. They had their 1-year peak, and going forward, they might not really be a factor this year. I could be wrong. Big 12. Other than, I mean, Big 12 early. It's early. Utah's looking good. UCF's looking solid. Texas Tech. A lot of people are high on BYU, Arizona, Iowa State. Big 12 could be open. Arizona State 1-1. They're not out. No one's out of it yet. But, excuse me, a team last year that looked so good, and then Kenny Dillingham talking bad about Starksville, and then they go out and lay an egg like that. It was kind of funny. Moving on to the upset of the week. South Florida, who was previously unranked, beat the number 13 Florida Gators 18-16. 11 penalties. I mean, this was a Billy Napier special here. Florida, undisciplined as they have been under Napier. 11 penalties for 103 yards. Florida defensive lineman Brendan Bett got ejected on the final drive, the game-winning drive for South Florida, for spitting on a player. That eventually set up the game-winning field goal, and Florida's offensive drive lasted all of about 20 seconds. Maybe. I'm not even sure that that's accurate. Oh no, actually, it lasted a little bit more than 20 seconds. It lasted, with the punt, a full 27. Football players like spitting. And I mean, it's just... Let me read this drive chart real quick. For Florida on their final drive. DJ Lagway, incomplete pass. Run for 2 yards, DJ Lagway, incomplete pass. Punt. Lagway, by the way, had himself, it wasn't terrible. 222 on 23 completions on 33 attempts. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Byron Brown, who has been since suspended. 263 yards and score for South Florida. But in a low-scoring game, you have on the final drive for Florida State, or not for Florida State, for South Florida, a 15-yard penalty for pass interference on DeHaan Johnson. And then on the very next play, another 15-yard penalty on Brendan Batt for unsportsmanlike conduct for spitting. That put South Florida at, I believe, the 50. Where's the punt down? Doesn't say. Yeah, they started their drive on the 11. 15-yard penalty. Another 15-yard penalty. So they're at the 40. They're about 39, to be exact. And then you get one big pass play to the Florida 32. A second 12-yard pass play to get to the 20, and then a couple plays to set up the kick by Nico Gramatica. 20, and just like that, down goes Florida in the swamp, and Billy Napier is once again on the hot seat, as he should be, down in Gainesville. How about them Spartans? That game was a football game that we called. And our final game here in the recap before we roll into the preview. Keep this quick. Is a game that was on while I was calling Boston College, Michigan State. And a game... Finish that game at the bar, then hate watch Michigan. And a game, Michigan Oklahoma is our final game in the recap. I was calling Boston College, Michigan State at this time. I had on my other monitor off here to my right, Michigan Oklahoma. I was obviously, for those of you who were here, I was providing constant updates. Oklahoma beat Michigan by 11. Number 18 Sooners, and Norman 24. Number 15 Michigan Wolverines 13. Some notes here, and then I'll actually talk about what I saw while I was able to watch it. Bryce Underwood, 142 yards on 9 for 24. QBR of 40. Bryce Underwood's rushing, he had a negative 1 yard with a 9-yard long run. John Mateer played really good, other than an interception. He went 270 on 21 for 34, score and an interception. QBR of 79.2. Mateer also ran for 2 touchdowns, 74 yards as well. And really, what kept... Michigan just hung around in this game. They had 13-point third quarter, one of which was off of the Justice Haynes 75-yard rush for a touchdown on one of his 19 carries. He ran for 125. Other than that carry, he was mostly bottled up. And then Michigan got a field goal off of a special teams fumble. I believe it was a punt, if I remember correctly. Jayshon Barham missed the first half for Michigan. He came back. He tallied 6 tackles. 3 of them were solos. 1 TFL. but it just wasn't enough. And I mean, let's get down to what I saw. Anytime I would look over here at my other monitor, and it's a very delicate thing because Bryce Underwood, true freshman quarterback, this is his first, not only, and no offense to New Mexico, not only is this Bryce Underwood's first road start, it's his first start against a real team. Nothing against New Mexico. They will never be on Oklahoma's level. Even on years Oklahoma is pathetic, New Mexico will never be on Oklahoma's level. And there's a very fine line between calling plays safe and trying to not overwhelm your true freshman quarterback and being too safe and too conservative. And every little bit of this game I was able, anytime I look over, if there was a break in Michigan State Boston College, it seemed like Sharon Moore and Michigan's offensive coordinator just were too safe with Bryce Underwood. We're too conservative. And it's a very delicate balance because you don't want to throw, and I've never met Bryce Underwood, never talked to him. I don't know how smart of an individual he is, how quick he can learn a team's playbook, and system and scheme. There's a fine line between just saying fuck it and calling plays like you have a third or fourth year starter out there. Guy who's played like Ohio State had with Will Howard last year. That's a perfect example. Or what Oklahoma has with Jonathan Mateer. Another perfect example, has a lot of experience. And there's a difference between doing that and just running the full offense and throwing everything at the kid and possibly overwhelming them and just throwing them to the wolves, and calling too conservative to where Bryce Underwood in this game, he couldn't get his feet underneath him. He couldn't find that rhythm, and everything that Michigan did offensively just looked so choppy because of it. So that'll be something to watch. We won't really talk about them. We probably won't talk about Michigan in the preview for a couple weeks, but that will be something to watch as we move forward throughout the season. Is just, can they find the way to allow Underwood to get his feet under him and for him to be able to get into that rhythm. Now, with the recap out of the way, let us real quickly move, as I flip pages in my notebook, to the preview for week 3. I have 4 games here in front of me on my notebook that I want to talk about. Most of them are because of storylines going into the game. One of them, the game that we're going to start with, excuse me, is more so intriguing to me because of the stats that can go along with it that help tell the story, if that makes sense. And our first game will be number 12 Clemson traveling to Atlanta, to Bobby Dodd, to play the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Some notes. Haynes King for Georgia Tech, their starting quarterback, did not play last week against, I believe, Gardner Webb is who Georgia Tech played. Got banged up a little bit against Colorado. King has been a full participant at practice. Looks like he will most likely be going on Saturday. And that could spell issues for Clemson. And this is where things for this game get really interesting, and I'm glad this is a noon game because I can watch this and devote my full attention to it. Clemson is allowing, so far through 2 games, 93 rush yards a game. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, has rushed for 271 yards a game on average through 2 games. So with that kind of read option attack that they have, it'll be really interesting to kind of see what we get here. See this matchup, and again, in an ACC that to me is very wide open right now. Depending on how good Miami is, it could be a conference that anyone could win. And so early season ACC matchup, especially for Clemson that doesn't have, this could be their biggest ACC test outside of Florida State. That'll be one to watch. Moving on, 3:30, I believe. Georgia will be traveling to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. This game is interesting, and I don't want to get too deep into this because I obviously have to pick this game here in a couple minutes. And like I said, these next 3 games I am more interested in because of the secondary storylines that go along with them. This game intrigues me because it's the first test for both teams' quarterbacks. Gunnar Stockton for Georgia. You can sit and say, "Oh, well, yeah, Gunnar Stockton played in the SEC championship against Texas last year." Yeah, there weren't really a lot of expectations at that point for Gunnar Stockton. This is his first true test. And then same on the other side for Joey Aguilar, who, Joey Aguilar played the past 2 years at Appalachian State. And threw for a combined 6,000 yards those 2 years. But 2, 3. Holy Christ, Joey Aguilar has been in 7 years. It's gonna be the first real high level test for Aguilar. I mean, Syracuse, not a great team. They struggled this past week with UConn, needing, I believe, double overtime to beat them. And then Eastern Tennessee State, all I gotta say about that is Cade McNamara's there, and not even their starting quarterback. So this game will be really interesting to see because we have 2 quarterbacks, one much more experienced than the other, getting their first real true SEC test. Stockton, his first test on the road, even. And this will come down to which defense can disrupt the quarterback better. And like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it because I got to talk about this game in the picks here in a few minutes. 4:30 on the irrelevant CW. Number 5 Miami will be hosting number 18 South Florida. This game, USF has upset their last 2 opponents. And on top of that, both of those opponents were top 25 teams. Oh, what's this? Oh, USF's just getting a new potential CEO of athletics. So this game will be interesting just to see, is Miami legit? Because this would be a Miami loss. This is one of those games that in years past Miami would 1000% lose, and it would be comical in a way. I want to just check this real quick. Okay. And then we'll get to see Byron Brown against once more another very good defense. Well, what on paper could be another very good defense. And can they keep this story rolling? So that'll be this game at 4:30. Other than the fact it's on CW, will be fun to watch. And our final game to preview, just so we can get to the picks and then move on. 7:30 NBC. I won't really be watching this game a whole lot. Number 8 Notre Dame is at 0-1, and they play number 16 Texas A&M. Number 16 Texas A&M. Notre Dame's a 6.5-point favorite here. The reason I have this game here in week 2 is that, week 3. This is an elimination game more or less for Notre Dame. If they lose this game, I am hard pressed to see how Marcus Freeman's squad gets in to the college football playoff with 2 losses, considering their schedule. And we talked about how bad their schedule is. After Texas A&M with Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, North Carolina State, USC, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. I believe that's not gonna tell me. Never mind. It's just not a good schedule. And so I just find this is one of those games where looking at it, it's for Notre Dame, it has to be a must win. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our preview for week 3. Let's roll into the picks. We are on the wrong scene. Wrong display capture. Naturally. Why wouldn't we be? We don't even have the right picks record up anymore. Why would we be? We started week 1 18-13. We are now 30-32. We had a terrible week last week. Only getting 12 games right. 19 wrong. Let's try and do better. And starting off with our sidecast this week. It's Thursday, tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. North Carolina State at Wake Forest. North Carolina State, a 7.5-point favorite. Wake Forest, and I kind of found this in my notes as I was prepping for this game today. Wake Forest beat Kennesaw State by 1 point. Give me NC State in what could just be a sloppy game. Moving on, Friday, 7:30 on ESPN. 1-1 Colorado, who has a bit of a quarterback conundrum, taking on the Houston Cougars at Houston. And I believe an all Big 12 matchup now. Houston, Colorado has problems. Give me the Cougars at -4.5. Staying in the Big 12, number 1 or 9 p.m. on Fox. 1-2 Kansas State. They were ranked earlier this year, but not anymore. Is a 1.5-point road underdog at Arizona. Arizona 2-0. This game is going to blow really bad. Kansas blows really bad. Give me Arizona here to go to 3-0 and essentially a pick 'em. Staying on Friday night, 10 p.m. Big Ten Network. New Mexico lost to Michigan earlier. They play a second Big Ten team this year. They are a 15.5-point underdog on the road at 0-2 UCLA. Nico Amaleava as the quarterback for the Bruins, and 70% of the people are in New Mexico at 15.5, at plus 15.5. So am I. New Mexico's not going to win this game, but they're definitely going to give UCLA a run for their money. Moving on, we just talked about this game in the preview. Number 12, Clemson at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, a 4.5-point home underdog. I've picked Clemson twice this year. Give me Georgia Tech. I'm going to get burned on this. Some Saturday action. Buffalo, 21.5-point favorite at Kent State. Kent State, not good. They might only win one game this year. Give me Buffalo here at 21.5. MAC Big Ten action. Central Michigan travels to the hole in the ground in Ann Arbor. Michigan, 27.5-point favorite. They're going to cover. They're going to cover. They just need 4 touchdowns. Get to 28. Number 13, Oklahoma. Fresh off of beating Michigan. They are a 24.5-point favorite at Temple in Philadelphia. Give me Oklahoma here. Why is this a road game for them? Whatever. Wisconsin, 20.5-point underdog at Alabama. 20.5 is a lot of points. 21's a good bit of points. I don't know if this Bama team can do it. Give me Wisconsin. The Badgers aren't going to win this game. They're going to fall to 2-1. Bama will jump up to 2-1, but they're not going to cover. Big noon kickoff. Oregon, number 4 in the country, 2-0. Travels to the practice field that Northwestern plays on in Evanston. Northwestern, a 27.5-point home underdog. I picked Oklahoma State to at least cover against Oregon last week, and I was wrong. Northwestern, sure as fuck, is not going to cover against Oregon. Give me the Ducks here. 12:45 in a who the hell cares matchup. South Alabama's 25.5-point underdog at number 24 Auburn. Woo. 3 p.m. another who cares matchup. This might just be because I pick way too many games. UConn 1-1 is a 10.5-point favorite on the road at newly crowned FBS Delaware. Both teams 1-1. UConn is a 10.5-point favorite. Give me the Huskies here. You always see when these FCS teams like Delaware or like Kennesaw State last year, or even Missouri State this year as well, both they came up with Delaware. When you see them make the original jump to the FBS, they struggle with even the bad FBS teams. So give me UConn in this one. 3:30. USC travels to West Lafayette to hear the annoying train of Purdue. USC 21.5-point favorite. 43% of the people are on USC. I'm on USC as well. I don't know what Vegas sees in this one. I don't. I don't. We talked about this game in the preview. And I said I didn't want to get too deep into it because then it would give away who I'm picking. Number 6, Georgia at number 15, Tennessee, and Knoxville, Georgia. 4.5 point favorite. I said in the preview, this game is going to come down to who can disrupt the quarterback better, whether it be the obvious stuff like sacks, interceptions, or even pass breakups, batted balls. But you can even throw in just defensive linemen, pass rushers, getting their hands in the air, affecting sight lines of quarterbacks. Anything to just even get them off their spot or get that mental clock in their head, thinking just a little bit quicker to just disrupt that rhythm is going to be who wins this game. And Georgia is built for a game like this. Give me the Bulldogs here at -4.5. This game will be good. I don't think it's going to be that close, though. Give me Georgia by 7. 3:30 ESPN, 2-0 Pitt travels to Morgantown. To play in Morgantown. I can't remember the name of the stadium. My brain just gave up. Pitt, 4.5 point favorite in a ACC Big 12 matchup, backyard brawl. Rich Rod sucks. Hiring Rich Rod was the worst possible thing West Virginia could have done. I don't like taking Pitt. I don't like Pat Narduzzi, Pitt's coach. I think Pat Narduzzi is a terrible coach. Every time I take Pitt in picks, I get burnt. I hate picking the Pitt Panthers, but Rich Rod has not been useful or relevant in 20 years. That is definitely not what I thought it was. At Milan Puskar, I am very glad I did not say Boone Stadium. Isn't that wait Boone Pickens? I believe is Boone Pickens Stadium's Oklahoma State. I think. Fuck. Wow, brain just gave up. Anyway, I hate picking the Pitt Panthers. I cannot pick West Virginia. Rich Rod has not been relevant or good since 2006. Terrible idea to hire him. Give me the Panthers. This very well most likely means West Virginia is going to win. Battle of 2-0 teams on ESPNU. Washington State, 4.5 point road underdog at North Texas. I don't know what Vegas sees here. Anytime we get these games where I don't know what, and it goes back to even when Jordan and I would do the House Divided podcast. Anytime I see a game like this where I don't know what Vegas sees and the points the people setting the spread see, I get burned. Am I going to learn my lesson and take North Texas? No. I'm still taking Washington State. 3:30 on Fox. The Oregon State Beavers, 24.5 point road underdog at the number 21 Texas Tech Red Raiders. Oregon State sucks. They are pathetic, pitiful, awful, and bad. Give me Texas Tech. Moving on. But that's just it. Number 14, Iowa State, 21.5 point favorite. Road favorite at Arkansas State. This is a neutral site game, right? No. No, it's not. I am not taking the Red Wolves. Iowa State by way more than 21.5. 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns are traveling to Missouri. Louisiana. This is just a typical SEC matchup. Non-con SEC matchup. Louisiana, 27.5 point underdog. Give me Missouri here. Another typical, just why SEC matchup. 4:15 on the SEC network. The UTEP Miners is traveling to Texas to take on the Longhorns, the number 7 ranked Longhorns, and Arch Manning. Arch still has something wrong with him. What? I don't know. Shoulder, arm, something. Or maybe he's just not as good as everyone thought he was. I don't know. But UTEP's also not good. Give me Texas at 41.5. Another game we talked about in the preview. 4:30, CW, number 18, South Florida, takes on number 5, Miami. The Hurricanes, 16.5 point favorite at home. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than what people think. Do I think South Florida is going to win? Hell no. Is it going to be closer than 16.5? Very much so. Give me the Bulls. Moving on, 7 p.m. Battle for supremacy in Ohio. The Bobcats, out of Athens, travel to Columbus. House that Harley built. Buckeyes, number 1 in the land. 32.5 point favorite against the Bobcats. This one feels like a softball. Western Michigan, 0-2, travels to number 9, Illinois. The Illinois, 27.5 point favorite. Western's not really good this year. This is one of those years. The directional teams in Michigan, at least the FBS directional teams here in Michigan, alternate years on who really sucks, who's mediocre, and who's just average. This year looks like the year where Western's going to really suck. Give me Illinois by more than 27.5. I pick way too many games. Next year, we're not doing 31. Arkansas, 2-0, takes on number 17, Ole Miss, at Oxford. Ole Miss, 8.5 point favorite. Give me Ole Miss. Give me Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. This is the final game we talked about in the recap. 7:30 on NBC. Texas A&M, 6.5 point favorite at Touchdown Jesus. The Irish have to win this game. I think they win by more than a touchdown. 7:30 BTN. UMass. The Minutemen take on Iowa. Iowa 1-1. 34.5 point favorite. I don't know if they can score enough to cover 34.5. Give me UMass. 7:30 ABC, the Florida Gators, 9.5 point road underdog at Death Valley, seeing LSU, number 3 in the land. A battle of two inept coaches. I think LSU's just better. Give me the Tigers here. Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt as we move on. 5.5 point underdog at South Carolina, the Lenora Sellers. Vanderbilt's a fun story. A really fun story. South Carolina's just better. Give me the Gamecocks at more than 5.5. Number 20, Utah. Is Utah back? A 24.5 point. Why are there so many just power teams on the road against tiny teams? This is weird. Number 20, Utah, 2-0. 24.5 point road favorite at 2-0 Wyoming. Wyoming, 8 p.m. CBS Sports Network. Is Utah back? I don't know. Are they going to win by more than 24? Very much so. Air Force. I love having service academies in here. We're going to cover a service academy game at some point this year. Air Force 1-0 takes on Utah State, who is 1-1. Air Force travels to Utah State to Logan, Utah, as a 3.5-point favorite. Give me the Falcons. Give me the Air Force. Give me the Air Force Academy here, and rounding it out, 2-0 Minnesota, row the boat. PJ Fleck, 1.5-point favorite. Essentially a pick'em at Cal. Big Ten ACC matchup. The mid-tier Big Ten teams are better than the mid-tier ACC teams. Give me Minnesota here, and essentially a pick'em. And our tiebreaker for North Carolina State, Wake Forest. Let me go up and see the. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Utah. Boom, boom. Of course, these picks didn't save. Save those before anything happens. What's the point total here? 52.5. We're gonna say 65 points. No, 68 total points in North Carolina State, Wake Forest. Save. That is the picks. We will see you guys all next week. I intend to have these. Intend to be doing week 3 preview and week 4 or week 3 recap, week 4 preview and picks on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. So we'll see you all next week, hopefully with a better picks record.